Welcome back to this week's episode of the CryptoNoobz Podcast, where we talk about cryptocurrency and the world around it. I am your host, NelsonRecardo.x, and I'm joined here with my co-host,
Lamont Astwood, aka Crypto Lambo.
And on this episode, we are going to be interviewing someone who has built a community of around 160,000 people, who has already been a pioneer inside of the crypto space and even been one of LinkedIn's top 40 voices in this area. So without further ado, we would like to introduce you to Shan Ty.
Hello, guys. So, Sean here. You can call me Shan Ty or Sean Sebastian or just Sean for short. I'm actually more known as the coach. So more Filipino people call me coach right now, more than calling out my name. But yeah, nice to meet you, everyone there in your country.
It's great to meet you, man. It's we for a long time. And I have actually conversed online. We've actually been talking. We've even worked on projects together, and it's just great having you here, man. It's absolutely great.
I'm excited for this one. It's been a long, yeah.
All right. So first off, you've already created this community. This community is the PH Business Network, right? Now, this community is comprised of around 160,000 different professionals, right? What I would want to know is, what problem were you trying to solve when you first started a community before you started getting these crazy numbers and scales?
All right. So that's a good question. So, by the way, I have my co-founder here. Shout out to you, JR. Is also popular in social media. He's more popular than me, way popular than me. But yeah, before the numbers, in Page Business Network, I was really trying. We're trying to actually solve isolation because we've been coming from crypto communities, and we have seen how the Web3 works. The communities are pretty solid, but most of the time, communities are pretty much, transactional. And we've seen that. And if it's transactional, there's somewhat isolation with regards to the passion that you're trying to do. So I kept meeting Filipino professionals who were talented, ethical, and ambitious, but they're building alone without access to mentors or safe spaces to actually ask real questions. And PH Business Network, or the PBN, started as a way to actually say, you don't have to this out by yourself. You can scale later on. Belonging came first. So that's our thought. And it actually started with a pretty much childish. I'm not saying childish, but similar to childishness. Like, me and my co-founder, we would like to have more friends, but quality friends, like friends that would actually understand us, friends that would actually, you know, have the same values, same wavelength. And that's the reason we actually established. We actually look forward that, oh, maybe we can just, have at least 100 members. That's totally fine. At least we have a good circle. But when behold, in just 2 years, we grew it up to 160,000 members, right?
That's crazy. That's amazing. This is incredible, because just from a small desire of just wanting friends and to solve that problem of building with others, you actually created such a huge group. I've actually seen the group and actually been inside of the group, and I could actually see where it's other people kind of helping one another out. And I think that you guys really did accomplish a great job with that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Right, all right. Yeah, that's amazing. I like that concept. I love that concept. Bringing the best minds together, especially that. And you say it's for a childish you got literally a childish motive just to get more friends. So I find that kind of funny.
Yeah.
But prior to us starting the podcast, you mentioned that you're studying for priesthood.
I was studying for priesthood before.
All right. Just in a general sense, with the intersection of you, because essentially you're a business leader in a way, right? You are. What is the intersection? Because I could definitely see intersection between that and being a priest, because in both senses you are a leader. Do you think there's a lot of intersection, or a lot of ways one might translate to the other?
Well, I'm grateful because I've been inside a seminar. I was studying for almost 8 years. So almost half my life I was there. So seminary life or the religious life, as Catholics, teaches me one thing very clear, deeply, and that's leadership. Leadership is stewardship, not spotlight. So faith formed my instinct to actually listen first and serve quietly because I was a missionary before, and to design communities around dignity, not ego. Because I'm not supposed to be the one to shine during my seminary days when I was doing mission. It's always God. I'm not trying to make this spiritual, but that's what I'm doing before. And when I actually started, trying to build communities as well, that's the top of my head. It's not me that they follow, but it's the mission, it's the vision, it's the purpose of that community. So most Web3 builders actually optimize for growth. They optimize for formation, who people are becoming inside the community, not just what they gain from it. Because that's very important. What do you make those people inside this community is a very pivotal thing in community building. If you're starting a community, that's supposed to be the mindset. Are you getting them because you're just there for transactions, or are you actually building that community because you believe that these people can actually nurture themselves or get to know more about their potential, about the life or the culture or the whatever advocacy you're trying to work on. And that's the goal. If there's a clear advocacy, if there's a clear goal, and you steward that, you guide them towards that goal, then the community flourishes.
That
I like
is
that.
that is amazing. It's the thing. So we are also people who could be very spiritual. We are both believers as well, right? And I like how you're talking about it shouldn't be you who shines, but actually the mission, the vision that shines, and God that is actually represented through it all. And I think that a lot of builders and founders, I think even just regular people could take a really good note from that book, because it really shows, hey, when you're actually building, yeah, of course, the bottom line everyone thinks about being they want money, right? But is it actually helping the people? Are you actually being a servant? Are you actually being a steward? And I think that that really plays a huge deal, especially in our topic today, which is community building, because a lot of people want to build communities. A lot of people want the successful community, but just as you say, it's shallow, it's transactional. It's like, I'm here to take advantage of these people or something like that, versus I'm here to help these people that when they actually have loyalty to us, like, or to the community, they are actually coming from a place of they actually wanted to be, and they enjoy the community. They enjoy the atmosphere. They enjoy the people that they're coming in connection with, you know, like, but once again, right, we're still blown away by how you have a community of about 160 people. Like, and we understand that definitely took some time to build. You said about 2 years. So the question that I have is like looking back, what specific actions helped you to go from zero to your first real core group, like that first 100 people? Like, we want not the tactics that people copy today, but what really worked then. What really worked.
Well, I cannot say it was really strategic. It's more coming from organic rather than strategic because, yeah, we were making already a name here in the Philippines, me and my co-founder, and we actually started a, a genuine circle as well. So when we actually decided, let's make this community. Those we actually didn't have a hard time bringing in the poor people because a lot of people have known us, have known me in my craft, in whatever I'm doing, as well as my co-founder. And so when we actually started it, instant connection, instant support from the people around us already. So because we were able to actually establish our brand as well, our authority, our values, and people are attracted to that. If ever you're trying to build something if you actually made that point that you're trying to be doing something good or something worth supporting, then people will do. So the first people that actually join our community are those people around us also. Our friends, the networks that the connections that we actually made on the local scene. So yeah, and it's just, domino effect. Um if you're going to if we're going to look at it, if there's a strategy that's behind it, maybe it's more of about building genuine connections first. I personally spoke to people. I followed up. I showed up to their events as well. Every time they invited me, even for pro bono, I actually, showed up. I give talks, for free. And that's when one way of showing up. And the first 100 weren't actually attracted by value props. They actually stayed because they felt seen and they know our mission and vision is worth supporting. So there's no actually funnel that gets genuine attention in the early days of community building.
That's beautiful.
So, Sean, let me ask you a question. Because you basically built this community from the ground up, right? Like, what steps did you make to ensure like the integrity of the community, like to avoid things like what mistakes you see some communities make that kind of like might ruin their credibility or stuff like that? Because a lot of times you see communities come and go, like especially like in Web3, where you have a lot of communities who would be based around a certain token or crypto. Then a year later, they pretty much don't exist anymore. So, what do you think mistakes you would have avoided to have like this community lasting for as long as it did?
Well, I cannot say much for our current community, that's Speech Business Network, but I can say much from our previous communities because my co-founder and I had our Web3 community before. It's called Crypto Pinas, and we have, I think, 45,000 members. So that was during that hype of, the bull run of 2021. And then, uh, if there are things that I can say that, could have been better, would be first, over promising early. Um, you don't make promises that you cannot fulfill, especially to members, because they were there, they're in there because they actually believe on the promise that you actually give. If you cannot fulfill it, don't overpromise. You can just, okay, here's the plan, but we don't promise it. We'll try our best to, make it work if it's gonna work. Then I mean it's always better to the organic unfolding of things, especially on values of the community, as long as it's built on solid foundation with regards to the values and the mission and vision. As long as you stick to that, you'll always be guided. Another one is leaders disappearing when things get hard. That's very prominent in the Web3. When and if the projects or Web3 projects are being rug pulled, and that's why crypto is actually, equated to the word scam, especially here in Asia. Because leaders aren't that responsible or accountable for the projects that they're trying to build. If that's you, then don't build a community. Don't build something that you are only building just for the transaction.
Mhm.
Well, for PBN, that's something that we've been doing because until now, we're not yet monetizing it. We're still building organically on how we can actually help the members. But at the same time, we actually see how we can actually improve on how we will be able to monetize community by coming from a place of value first. And the number three, I'm using community as a distribution channel, not a community. Community. You know what I mean? You build communities not to be a marketplace. You build a community not to make it, just a sharing of affiliate links for, different crypto exchanges. You don't build a community just for the sharing.
Mm-hmm.
No. You build a community because you would want to build a sense of belongingness for people who actually values the work that you're trying to do. And that's the very essence of community building. Because if you don't, you're just, if your mindset is like, no, I'll just build it because I won't want to make a marketplace, then so be it. If that's the purpose of the community that you're trying to do. But if it's not, then you have to focus on that and you have to protect it at all costs. That's why we're thriving around Page Business Network because we're very strict with regards to our, guideline implementations. No promotions, no spam, no disrespects, no uncourteous behavior. And we've been implementing that, for the past 2 years. So that makes sense that we're still growing until today.
I like
So
that.
putting the people first. So putting the people first, once again, giving the value and putting people first, giving the value and trying not to turn it into just another soulless marketplace. I really like it, right? I really like it
Yeah.
because even as we're talking to you, right? Even as we're talking to you, we are also building up our community. And one of the reasons why we even wanted to talk about this particular subject is because I've already known you. I have seen your work, right? And I have seen how great the community has been that you are creating. I absolutely, once again, I love it. I actually want to just ask a bit more about like your personal life for a second, right? How is it? I understand if the community is not monetized, right? So how is it that day to day life inside of Shan Bastian looks? What is it that you do to actually be able to self sustain yourself while building the community?
Of course, you mentioned that I'm a business leader. That makes me a business leader right now. Since I've established a community, that that should be manifested through my work. So I should not, but most likely community building is just a passion. So that's just one aspect of my life. And I should still, manage to, provide sustainability. And that involves financial. So with that, how can I actually lead a business community if I don't have a business myself? So I do
Hmm.
have my own business. I do have my own work. I'm a consultant. I'm a registered digital marketing consultant. I'm a social media consultant. So yeah, I'm working with clients as a consultant, and at the same time, I have my own business. I have my startup, producing my softwares, you know, for local Filipino businesses. So yeah, that's how I actually sustain while I was trying to, keep up also with the community. There'll always be a balance, especially if it's, if your community is not yet monetized. We've been doing this for 2 years and I can say it's not yet, it's not really sustainable to this point, but that's something that our next goal would be because that's something that we're looking forward as well to make sure that the community will thrive on its own. But yeah, I have my own, I have my own resources as well. So I make sure that I'm not zero because I cannot help if I don't have anything. So
Hmm.
that's just the reality. You cannot bring what you don't have.
I wholeheartedly agree. So, and what I like to say about this is, right, many people think that they have a community when they really just have followers. So, where's the line drawn between what is in just an audience that just watches you and a real community?
Okay, this is very simple. An audience, consumes. They are consumers. So you can just, make a publication. You just make your page. If you just want, if that's what you want, you just want an audience who will just consume whatever you say on social media. You need an audience because they are consumers. But a community, they actually contributes. That's a very clear thing. So our core contributors in the community are all members who actually contribute on their own way, on their own talents, or their own gifts. So that's how you do it. That's a very clear guideline. An audience consumes, a community contributes. So if members don't know each other, can influence direction, and don't feel responsible for the space, then it's not a community. It's a content with comments.
I like that. For sure, for sure.
Sean, you touched on it a bit earlier with my earlier question, but how do you keep your community from becoming like too noisy? Like you say, is a comment section. Like if you just have audience, it's just they're consuming content with a comment section, but how do you keep your community from becoming too noisy or too shallow? It kind of goes back to what I previously said. I gotta preserve the quality of the community, and also you said you guys are not monetizing yet. Like, is there any particular reason for it, or is that something that's you just want to make sure you introduce in an ethical manner?
Yes, we follow ethics here, so we make sure that our guidelines keeps, it's maintained. That's just it. It's a free community. Therefore, you have to abide with the rules. If you would want to have the freedom to actually engage, consume whatever is in the community, you're not even paying. So might as well contribute. And that's what makes it, a better community because you don't have to force people to contribute. They're on their own contributing whatever their thoughts, insights with regards to particular member concerns. So that's, that organic, you know, contribution makes it a better community. So we focus less on adding people and more on strengthening layers, like smaller circles inside a bigger network. We have like, monthly events, meetups. We have clear culture standards, leaders who embodied values, not just activity. You can actually, notice that if you're inside a group that the members are the ones who are calling out those negative people, toxic people, or those people who actually violates your guidelines. They're the ones doing it, not anymore. It's not anymore our duty, or it's not almost all the time that we are the ones who calls out, but we're actually grateful that the members, because they actually believe how to maintain whatever we started. They're the ones implementing the guidelines already. So yeah, hope that answers your questions.
All right.
Nice. That's nice. So the members are actually the ones that are
Can I actually add? Sorry, Elson, for that.
no problem.
I forgot you mentioned about growth. Noise. So remember this: growth without culture is noise. So culture without growth is fragile. So you need both. You want, if you would want, real growth, you have to have growth and culture side by side.
Growth
Right.
and culture. So basically, um, let's just dive into the culture part a bit. Explain more about culture. Like, what does a culture
Okay.
look like? What is culture?
Well, culture actually, the founder started it. So what do you want your community looks like? So culture comes from the word cult.
Mhm.
What is a cult? It's
Yeah.
a belief. It's a community of having a unique belief system that actually makes them bind together and work together and thrive. That's a cult, right? And to
Mhm.
build the cult, you need to culture it. When you say culture, you have to nurture that kind of belief. So what we actually did in Peach Business Network is we have to create a community where everyone feels safe, where every questions are valid, that this will be a safe space for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs in the Philippines. That this is a way to actually grow and learn and educate themselves. It's a platform that they can actually go to if they're having a problem with regards to their business. So that's the culture. That's the thing that you have to create and that everyone will follow it.
That's very insightful. That's very insightful. So, getting back to more, as you know, we're more inside of the crypto industry. We're still about crypto, and we are actually building our own community, even right now, when crypto is basically going through its changes, is relatively down, and things are relatively quiet, right? So, what initially it pulled you into the crypto and Web3 space, and how did you translate complex concepts into something everyday professionals could actually care about? So that's a two-parter.
Okay, so I actually came into crypto a bit late already because I actually joined like, early 2022. The bull run is already, on its end, on its tail end. But yeah, one thing is that crypto is like, there's a lot of people who actually made money out of it. That's the first thing. That's the initial thing that, oh, I would want to be part of this, That's why I actually landed and tried myself, to go inside the crypto. I'm not gonna lie, you know, money is in crypto. So I was really interested. I was really, hooked up. Oh, this is something that I would want to work in. It's a lot of money here. But going back, because I'm not really that, I haven't like, experienced the glory of crypto already because I actually did came in late. So what I realized what made me, stay during those years was crypto pulled me in, not because of the money, not because of just the price, because I was just waiting for the bull run, but it's more of because of the systems, because of the technology itself, because it forced people to think about ownership, about, responsibility and trust. I translated it by, connecting it to real life. So how does this actually affect your work, your money, your future? You can actually relate that to crypto because in crypto, it's decentralized. You're on your own, right? No one's actually telling you to, you put everyone can suggest, but you are accountable to your own decisions in crypto. Want to trade? You want to buy and sell? You want to hold? You want to stake? You want to create projects? You want to invest? It's up to you. And that's actually what made me, realize with regards to how accountable I can become with regards to this kind of system. Being decentralized, being more disciplined in how you actually manage yourself. And you can actually correlate that with crypto. So if it cannot be explained without jargon, it's not ready for mass adoption. That's the answer for a second question
Mm-hmm.
regarding how are we going to, teach, or help people to adopt to it. Again, if it's not explained without jargon, it's not ready for mass adoption. And we are actually experiencing that right now. That's why I've actually started this one, That's why I actually took a low key right now on crypto because it's not ready yet for mass adoption. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. And we cannot force it. Because if you force it, more and more damage will actually incur. Now, if you're not ready to onboard yourself into crypto, if you're not actually ready to actually learn about it, get to know the jargons, the complexities. It is indeed complex, whether we like it or not. It is built to make our lives easier, but no, it's still on its complex era. So that's why it's not yet ready for mass adoption. And it's a hard pill to swallow because I am myself have been a proponent or an advocate for this technology, for this, system with regards to finances. But definitely we cannot force it. We cannot force people to actually, learn this complex thing just to actually have this kind of. But again, if you actually realize the benefits of crypto, if you actually learn early, that's already a big step forward for you. But again, not everyone has that kind of mindset. So we leave that to those people. If you are someone who actually would want, to go ahead to advance, then you must do things out of your comfort zone to actually learn things that you don't know yet. So for newbies, for people who doesn't know or who's still on the gray area of, learning about crypto, always make sure that, it's never too late if you start right now. But it will be too late if you actually start tomorrow. That's just, my opinion. And you don't have to force it. You don't have to force it. You always have the room for, your justifications. And, we know that crypto has not been in, has been a lot of had a bad actors, who played in the system. But again, you can avoid them as much if you actually learn it your way. So yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. So I like the angle which you just said. I like what you said, especially like when you talk about like different things like investing and staking, because part of what drew me from crypto, because I work originally in the web 2 space, was it's almost like almost everyone, regardless of your background, there was almost a place for you in web 3. So you have people who are like designers, developers, so they might come from more so the tech side, and you have people who come from the finance side. So with me, I'm coming from the finance side, so I like to look at numbers, charts, stuff like that, right? When like right now, what's happening with crypto, like Bitcoin is about like 90 something thousand. A lot of people are panicking. Oh, it's down, even though when you compare it to this life long, Bitcoin is still up like what, probably 1,000,000% compared to like where it started. What do you guys do to like calm fears within your community? Or do you guys take that on, or like, what do you guys do as far as like when there's panic in the community to avoid, dissension or stuff like that? Or like some people, they
Well,
might during times like this.
yeah, so that's FUD, right? So that's fun. If there's fear, uncertainties, and discouragements, you always build for identity, not incentives, or in preparation for the bear market. Always remember that, you know, life is a wheel. Like, yeah, it's always on a circular motion. Most of the time, most of the time, you're actually moving rather than staying. Because if you're just, staying, you're not on growing. So you have to accept the fact that if you want to grow, you have to keep on going up and down. And that's how life is. And that's how
Mm.
you actually prepare yourself for crypto. If there are panics, if there are fears, uncertainties, and discouragements in the community, you always have to remind them, okay, what's the reason why you came here for? You just came here for the bull market, or you came here to really know the cycle of crypto market? And understanding that, you have to realize that there's always a bull and there's always a bear. And having that in mind, it gives you like, the courage or the peace that, yeah, definitely if it's bear, then definitely there will be a bull. If you're on the bull, definitely there will be a bear. So what I have to do, I have to prepare for it. And with that, with that kind of mindset, you actually have that kind of peace of mind. Well, yeah, I'm actually understanding how life works this. And if you're correlating that to life, yes, life is like, ups and downs. It's never always on the same level. Whatever you, Whenever you reach a milestone, another circle of life you know, will roll out. That's just how life is. And that's the same with crypto. If you don't understand that, then maybe crypto is not for you. Because being in crypto, you have to have that kind of strong heart, and at the same time, that kind of confidence that this is just a cycle and everything will turn out what the way it should be on the right time. So yeah, that's how I actually, remind our community before, you know, that you don't have to really feel, fearful about it, because that's just a reality. And if you actually accept reality, then you don't have to fear about it. You just have to live by it, prepare for it, and co-live with it. So yeah.
I like that.
Just just tell them exactly what to really expect and set those expectations, and they'll be able to go along with it. So once again, Shan, one of the things I like is the fact that you are such a versatile person. Not only is it that you're the co-founder of the PH Business Network, you're also your own business person. And then you're also the coach, right? Inside of the freelance movement tribe. And you work with digital brothers, right?
It's my forward
This is
startup,
an
but yeah.
this is an honest question, right? How do you how do you maintain authenticity and genuine engagement across different platforms without burning out or spreading yourself too thin? Because I'll tell you honestly, right? For us, working a 9 to 5 and then doing crypto noobs and running our community could sometimes be a lot, right? And you seem to have like 5 to 7 different jobs. So let us know, like, how are you doing all of this without burning out and, you know, spreading yourself too thin?
Well, leadership fatigue is real. to be honest. And I just don't show it, of course. Because as a leader, I have the responsibility to maintain my composure. I don't have I have the responsibility to make sure that my vulnerabilities are not shown enough because people are actually, depending on me, and as a leader, that's a painful truth that you have to take with you. That's the price you have to pay. Fatigue is real, but you have to manage it well. So I've been into a lot of things you have mentioned. I'm wearing a lot of caps right now. I'm wearing different hats as a
Mhm.
community leader, as a coach, as a business owner, as a family member myself, and as someone who's also serving right now in the church. So what made me keep on being authentic is I have to always have I have to be always aware of why am I doing it first. Why am I doing business? Why am I building this community? Why am I coaching people? Why am I serving? Why am I doing this and that? So I become more consistent on doing it. I try my best to manage it well. I'm not because this is something that I am not, vocally try to encourage people to do because this is me. And I'm not saying, hey Nelson, if you want to be like me or you want to like do this and do that, you have to be like me. No, I'm never saying that. I never, ever in my coaching, in my leadership, I never told anyone to be like, because I know what I'm doing is kind of hard and it's kind of sad on the top. And I don't want for people to actually feel the same. But again, what motivates me to remain authentic without burning out is that I make sure that I'm always aligned with my goals, that I'm aligned to the vision that I would want my life to be with. Because, I have this, vision in my life. I am not going to share it because it's a personal thing, but my works would actually define that. But again, if I'm clear that all the things that I'm trying to do is still aligned with that vision, I will be consistent. I will show up. And I think that would be helping a lot, and a lot of I think the best thing that I can share about it, aside from the aligning with the vision, is I have a good support from my community. I have a small community, but a small core community that you know pushes me. I have my accountability group that you know I told them that help me to fulfill this, help me to do this, and make sure that I'm accountable. Because managing your own self is kind of hard. I am actually a master procrastinator myself. So I made sure that I'm accountable by telling it to other people, hey, you always check on me that I'm doing this. Make sure that I'm doing this. So that's kind of a life hacks that I'm doing also. I make sure that my mom knows about my schedule so that she can always remind me that I have to be there, I have to be on time. Kind of something that, kind of dependent, but yeah, that works for me. And that's what make me, keep going. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It does. Essentially, the answer to the question was, you're just built different. But I like that. The reason why I like that is because I think it's what I like what you said is that it's really important that you know yourself. You know that you know your abilities, you know your boundaries, you know what you could take. And I think that anyone listening, one of the first things that you started off with is that you are not me and I am not you. So you should be very honest with yourself, what it is that you are able to do with your particular lifestyle.
So, Sean, let me ask you a question. You built a community in the Philippines. So, for someone who wants to build a community, let's say in the Caribbean region or Latin America, what is like an uncomfortable truth or something that you think that is really underrated or that like really overlooked when it comes to building communities in those regions?
Well, I'm not so much familiar with, the region, but I just know how it should be based from what I know. But I think this is a universal truth. If you're trying to build, What's an uncomfortable truth is that it's never easy. It's never easy. Why? There's a lot of factors to take in with regards to building communities. First is, do you know yourself first? What's the reason
Mhm.
why you're building a community? Why you're doing this? Who you're doing this for? Because if those are the things aren't clear with you, then maybe you have to refine the purpose of whatever you're trying to do. I can say it's never easy because I really had a hard time. Asking people to join in is very easy, but maintaining it is a different kind of thing. Making sure that it grows organically, healthily is a different kind of thing. That actually makes, community building a bit of difficult. But we have to also take into consideration the fact that it's also not hard if you have the right people joining it. So you really have to build a solid foundation first on whatever you're trying to build right now. Okay, so for Caribbean region, do you know the people around there? Like, do you know how their behaviors, their desires, their needs? Because if you know those things, then definitely if you actually present that to them with your community, then definitely that would be an easier way to build them, grow them. But if you don't know that, you just know yourself. This is what I want. This is what I think that they need. But it's not, it's like, offering a piece of food for someone a piece of meat for someone who's vegetarian or is
Mm.
vegan. You cannot do that. They won't, they won't be interested. But if you actually offer, sweet salad, to a vegan, then definitely they would appreciate that. Knowing those things, makes a lot easier when regards to building family. So what I meant with if it's not easy, that part of clarifying the vision, the needs, and the problem that you're trying to solve is kind of difficult if it's not clear with you. It will be easier if you actually answer those and then present it. And then, things will just unfold organically and people will actually follow your culture, not you, Nelson, not you, Labo. But it's
Mhm.
the thing that they want in life will make them join and get interest to join your community. So yeah.
So it's
I
almost
like
like
it.
it goes back to like what you were saying about when you was going to the preset, you gotta be a steward. You gotta kind of present the mission to people and present it in a way that they'll follow their own mission, not just do what I say, but like, kind of like lead them on their own journey, kind of like be a guide, if you will. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, if someone wanted to start their community today, right? What are three non-negotiable principles that they need to follow, and what's one mistake that they should avoid?
Excuse me. Three non-negotiables. Number one, you have to learn trust before asking for growth. So trust before growth. Number two, service first. You have to serve first before monetization. And that's actually, I've been living until now. We serve first, you know, and monetization will hopefully follow afterwards. But yeah, pretty much sure because I have a lot of, community builders friends as well. It's just that we would want to make sure that whatever we've been going to implement for our community will make sense for our members. Number three, again, culture. You have to focus on the culture. What cult do you want to build here before anything else? So the mistake would be, building fast is easy to look big instead of building deep to last long. So if you want to, to look big, you can build fast. You can promise even empty promises. But if you would want to build community that would last long, you have to build deep rather than fast. So that's my non-negotiables.
And what about the one mistake that people should never make in building their community? One mistake.
Yeah, as I mentioned, don't build fast. Just building
Oh,
fast will actually, just make wastes. You have to build to last long.
yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And stuff.
So, Sean, looking forward to 2000 and beyond, right? Where do you see the future communities in Web3 going? Do you see it being more like, I guess, decentralized, following the trend of the assets itself? Or do you see more unity or like in the space amongst the communities?
Well, as I am observing also what happens in the community, and I think you can also, observe that. We'll see more fragmentation now, but stronger micro communities. You know what? Even though we have like, huge number of community members, it's still just a number. What important, what's important is how well you're connected with those. That's why this 2026, I do believe for micro communities. You don't have to build big communities, solid ones. Like if you were able to actually build solid 100 people in your community that actually will do everything in their power to contribute to make sure that the community is, up and going, then that's more solid than, communities with million followers or a million members. Because the future isn't, one massive platform. It's more interconnected tribes with shared values.
Mhm.
You know, Filipino builders in our context, have a unique edge here because we're very relational, resilient, and community first by nature. With regards to fandoms in the whole world, Filipinos are very much popular. We're so much, great with regards to fanaticism, maybe even with faith related ideas. We have the greatest festivals in the world here in the Philippines with regards to faith and devotion. So it's built in culture, in cult, in faith,
Mm.
in vision and belief, in that one point of vision that makes communities that strong. So if we link to that, we won't just participate, we'll actually lead. So that's why, our goal for me, my goal is to make sure that the community will be, if I'm building a community, it will, even if I'm not present, it will go on its own. So yeah, if I will do that, that's actually what I'm looking for.
Okay.
That is incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
So, Sean, we are at the end of today's podcast. First and foremost, you've given us a whole lot of insights into building communities, how you actually could maintain the community, maintaining your balance within life and actually having some boundaries and some systems in place to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. You would have told us how, you could also sometimes be a procrastinator yourself, but yet still the job gets done. You've given us a whole lot, and we just want to once again like to thank you for all of this information. And we do hope that those listening have gotten a lot of value from what was spoken here today. We would just like to know, like, where could we find you on social media and what are your tags?
All right. So if you are looking for me on social media, you can check on my LinkedIn. Yeah, this is my IG and right here. That goes the same with my Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter or X. But yeah, I'm more active on LinkedIn and on Facebook because that's where my community is. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. All right, then. Well, that's another episode of the Crypto News Podcast. And we'd just like to wish everyone a great good night. Peace.